And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to another awesome Sunday night interview podcast / Q&A. So if you guys haven't seen, Stirling is now a veteran to the channel. We did a live stream a month ago. If you guys did not see that, highly recommend you check it out. It was, we covered his whole story, how he was a man whore in Australia, and how he entered the porn industry, and just all the stuff he's learned. And it was really popular live stream. We got like 10,000 views in a month, which is really good for like a 2-hour thing for this type of thing. So yeah, highly recommend you guys check it out. In this one, we're not gonna, we don't want to like repeat the same thing. So we're gonna just do a very quick version of a story, and then we're mainly gonna take questions, and we're gonna cover this new course that Stirling just released, which sounds pretty fucking epic. And I think that'd be really cool. Like, because I can talk about what I teach in this course, show some clips, and if anyone has any more questions after that as well, like I'm happy to take as many questions as you guys have today. So it's really cool. Awesome.
And for talk on too much last time, so we were just talking back and forth a bunch. So it'd be really good to get to your questions today, guys.
Awesome. And just for the record, Stirling is not in the bathroom. He's not taking a shit during the live Q&A. This is a hotel room in Portugal. There's no toilet. I'm already foreseeing the comments. Yo, cool live Q&A, but why was he taking a shit during it?
The entire time.
So
we takes a shit with a jacket on,
It's cold. He doesn't have indoor heat, so he just it's a porn star thing. If you want to be in the porn world, you guys shit with your jacket on.
Look, it's actually lovely where I am right now. Portugal is where I am right now, and it's like 2 a.m. in the morning here in Portugal. It is super lovely and warm. It's far better than in England, where I was a couple of weeks ago.
I can imagine. What city are you in? Are you in Porto or
Lisbon? Okay,
cool. I actually spent. I was there for 5 hours. I had a layover and I walked around a little bit in Lisbon. Cool city, from what I saw.
And Portuguese women are very lovely.
Yes.
Very, very lovely.
What kind of?
And there's a bunch of Brazilian girls here too, so you get the best of both worlds. It's great.
Yeah, kind of what I heard about Portugal is that like the hottest girls in Portugal are the Brazilians.
Yeah, that's what I've seen so far. Yeah, basically.
That makes sense. And those are also the most DTF ones.
It is what it is.
So let's start off. Do you want to just give maybe like a 1-2 minute summary of, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. For anyone who didn't catch our last little jaunt together. So I've been in the porn industry for the last 4 years now, obviously, in front of the camera, the guy getting naked, getting his wang out. Just received my first award nomination. Received my first award this year. So now
congratulations.
Thank you very much. Very proud of that. Been multi-nominated. So I've made the rounds, shot for like the biggest companies in the world, like your Brazzers, your Evil Angels, all the Americas, Fake Taxi, you name them. I've shot for them basically. I started back in Australia with a very, very tiny porn industry, and then I leveraged my way into shooting in the UK, shot there for a while. Then I used that experience to get shot in Europe, shot for the legendary Rocco Siffredi while I was out there, shooting between Prague and Hungary. And then I eventually came out to Los Angeles, where I have been shooting for the last 2 years. And now I'm bouncing through Europe on a wee bit of a break. But before that, before I was in porn, I was working as a high-class male companion back in Australia, where that is legal. And basically got paid to service wealthy businesswomen to do live cuckold sessions for couples, so banging a dude's wife in front of him. And I also got paid by other female escorts to service them when they wanted to have a night off. So
that part I found like the most fascinating. Like I would have no idea that other escorts are paying escorts. It kind of makes sense the way you explained it, but yeah, like I would have no idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like they spend all day, they probably spend a good like 6 hours giving blowjobs, if I'm being honest, today, to like wealthy business dudes. And then they're a bit tired. They want to like lay down and have the pussy ate. So I'm like, all right, here I am, do the job properly, and then they can get a good night's sleep. So that was kind of the deal with that situation. And then before that, I was in the swinging scene as a single guy for a number of years, which is not an easy thing to do, to actually get into the swinging scene as a single guy. And that's where I started to really cut my teeth in my early 20s, like learning about sex, learning to be comfortable, being naked around people, getting into all kinds of kinky situations, and sort of exploring sex in general. Yeah, and so that's kind of a really condensed version of how I got to where I am today. And so now I sort of have pulled together all my knowledge having sex professionally, and I try to pass it on to guys so they can improve their sex lives. They can get over issues like performance anxiety and premature ejaculation, boner issues, and teach them how to sort of push a woman's buttons properly in the bedroom. Yeah.
Epic. The one thing I do want to reiterate, I found this is one of the, there's a lot of very fascinating things about you, but this I found like really crazy. Just the way you backwards engineered like your entry into the porn world, like how you talked about how like you had the most professional application so as to speak. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. When guys ask me like how to get into the industry, this is how I did it. So I had a couple that I used to swing with all the time. We were good friends, still are good friends. And I said, hey, do you guys mind if I film us like one night in a hotel room? And they're like, yeah, fine. So I rented some cameras, I rented some lights, rented a hotel room, got a friend to come in and film us like, playing around. And then I took that footage, I cut it up into little bits. I was like, this is missionary position, this is doggy style position, this is a blowjob, this is cowgirl, whatever. I put it in a Dropbox folder, and then I pitched a couple of directors in Melbourne with this footage and sent them the Dropbox link. And I was like, hey, here's proof that I can do the job on camera with people in the room. I'm a swinger, I'm a sexual guy, I'm okay being naked around people, I would love to give porn a try. And they replied back saying, this is the most professional application we had ever received in our entire lives. We'll give you a shot. And that was my first ever porno. So.
Yeah, you almost treat it like a game of chess, right? Like, and this is what I talk about. This is the way I treat, to a small extent pickup, but to a much larger extent my business. Like, I see it, okay, if I do this interview, then I can use that to meet this person and then get this interview to get, this is where I want to go. But basically you have to start, small. Like there's no way, right? Like you would have been able to go from just being a swinger to like, shooting movies in LA, like you have to do a lot of things beforehand.
The thing is, because I was coming from Australia, that's the hard part. Like, so I had to sort of, in my head, I had a very clear plan in my head. Even when I made that first pitch to a director, I was like, okay, I sort of, because Twitter is where the porn industry is. Twitter is the social media for the porn industry. So I sort of did my research. I was like, okay, well, where are all the directors? Okay, there's a couple of directors in Melbourne, but then there's all these directors in England, and these guys look like they're in Europe, and these ones are in America. I'm like, okay. So I sort of made this kind of plan, like I'll be here for 6 months, then I'll try to get work there for 6 months, then I'll go there, and then I'll go to America. And that's basically exactly what happened. So I sort of reverse engineered like how I got in by figuring out, okay, who are the directors, most importantly, like who are the websites I want to shoot for, what female performers do I know that have shot for these websites, and then they introduce me to a director, and then leverage that experience to pitch the next director, be like, hey, I shot for this guy. He's a little bit smaller than you, but here's proof that I can do the job. Now, would you give me a shot? And that's kind of, you sort of baby step your way up the ladder.
Right. Which is definitely the way to approach a situation like this. It's not easy for a guy, I'm sure, to break into the porn industry. And I'm sure it's even 500 times harder to shoot for like big name directors. Like you're not going to go. I think what most guys are doing, for example, who want to get in the porn industry, they're just like, oh, they're going to hit up like, famous, directors in LA, right? Go straight to that. But like you kind of saw it as a game of chess. Like I have to move this piece in order to get there. And I think that's how anyone who's successful in business or who's able to accomplish something that's not easy and complex, that's how you have to approach it. You have to baby step it and kind of see it as a game of strategy versus just like trying to go for the top. It doesn't work. And then you just like give up.
Yeah. It's like, it's a really good example of networking, if I'll say that much. And I kind of got the idea from the book, Ryan Holiday's Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator.
I have to check that one out. Yeah.
In that book, it's an old book now, but it's still it's super relevant. So in that book, he talks about like how he would, because he used to be a PR guy. He was PR guy for American Apparel actually for a while, and he would sort of start with these sort of small. If he wanted to like leak a story and get a story to go viral, he would leak it with some really small niche blogs first. Once they covered it, then he'd leak that story to a slightly bigger blog. and they leaked that story to an even bigger blog, and eventually it's in the New York Times. And I was like, oh, I just took the exact same approach, but to like directors.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of what I did with this channel. Like, I knew that, like, when I was at 2,000 subscribers, I wasn't going to get like big names on, right? Like big names for pickup industry. I mean, obviously not big names for, I'm not getting like George Clooney on or something like that. But so I knew I had to like, okay, I'm going to do this interview with this guy. He has 4,000 subs, which will allow me to do an interview with the guy who has 10,000 subs, which will allow me to do 15,000 subs. So just like a game of chess. So yeah, I find that, I think that part is just could not be overstated, like how important it is to be strategic in whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with having a plan, for anything. That's how people a lot of people sort of see the end result of stuff, and just assume it magically happened.
You're right.
When 99% of the time that's not the case. It's like, okay, someone actually had a plan and executed on that plan.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Yeah. People always assume like, they're like, oh, dude, people love your videos. Like, people love your content. Like, you're so lucky. But like for over a year, no one gave a shit about my videos. Like, I was initially putting out video after video, I get like 300 views, 100 of them were family members and friends, like, so it was just like, it took a while of just putting out consistent content. But I knew that if I just kept putting out value, that at some point it would catch on. I did the same thing with our forums. Like, when I was trying to make the move from Facebook to forums, everyone told me, like, dude, like, you're not going to get people to get off Facebook because they're so used to it. Like, forums are dead. It's like 2010, blah, blah. But I knew if I just kept incorporating people's feedback and just kept making it better and better, and eventually made it more user-friendly experience than Facebook. And also if I kept contributing a lot of value to the forums and bringing in, like, it would catch on. But like for the first year, the forums were like pretty much dead. It was just like after a while of just like, but I had a vision. I knew that eventually if I did the right things, it would get to a point where it's like self-sustaining, which is kind of where it is now. So I think, you kind of did the same thing. All right. So talk about this new Epic course you got out. So how does it work?
So I had a friend of mine come to me with this question. He was like, you know what, Stirling, like a lot of guys, when they hear they need to be like more dominant in the bedroom, right? Because there's this sort of, everyone in this sort of dating space nowadays, they talk about like being alpha and being like Chad Thundercock and all this. They throw out all these sort of terms, right? And what I notice is like, it's funny because obviously I work in the porn industry. There's a lot of very, very dominant guys in that area, and they all have a lot of things in common in the way that they have sex with a woman. And the same thing applies to my buddies who have really, really high lay counts, who are super, very, like, also very dominant guys in the bedroom. Like, I've shown them clips of me having sex, and they're like, "Oh, that's exactly how I fuck." So that I'm like, "Oh, wait, there's a pattern here." And then I heard my other friend say, "Look, when guys hear that they need to be more dominant in the bedroom, they tend to make the mistake of going from like 0 to 100 straight away. They're like a tame." Like a vanilla kind of guy, and then he hears on like some podcast, "Oh, be more dominant in the bedroom." He's like, "Oh, okay."
Get on your knees, you slut.
Like he goes too far too quickly, and it's not congruent.
Yeah, his voice cracks. Get on your knees, you slut.
Yeah, exactly like that, right? So there's an incongruency between like who he thinks he is, what he's trying to do, and like the body language he's portraying at the time. So there's all that going on, right? So my buddy was like, "Well, it'd be nice if someone could teach these guys how to go from like 0 to 10, and then maybe 10 to 20, and then 20 to 40, and then like, okay, eventually they can get to the point where they're doing things the same way that the sort of natural guys are, right? Guys are naturally a bit more dominant, right?" And I was like, "Well, I can do that." So I sat down, like I gave like a dummy presentation back in like June, and it did really well. Guys really liked it. I had a Pornstar in my house, and we didn't do anything like it was fully closed, but we did like some breakdowns of like how to choke a girl properly, how to pull a hair properly, like how to slap a girl properly, a bunch of stuff like that, right? And did really well. So I was like, well, I'm going to take it a bit further. So I put together the product that I'm releasing this week, which is what I call sexual dominance escalation, and it's like 5.5 hours of video breakdowns of about 80 plus different sexual techniques. And what I try to do with it is I do exactly what I said. I take guys from like 0, like very, very tame vanilla stuff that you can even do before you actually get into the bedroom, like foreplay stuff that sort of it's like sexual escalation, but it conveys dominance, right? And there's sort of 4 things I touch on in terms of like conveying dominance through the course. And one is controlling / leading, so like being in control of the situation. The second one is being physically dominant with the girl. So say things like maybe pinning her hands down putting her hands above her head, putting her hands behind her back, this kind of stuff, really basic stuff. Then progressing into stuff that's maybe a bit more degrading, right? And then progressing into things that are a bit more sadistic. So like BDSM, like floggers, riding crops, bondage rope, this kind of stuff.
Oh.
And then the other part of there's like another third of the course where I talk about, say, if you have like an end point in mind, right? And I often get asked by guys like, how do I get my girl to do anal sex? How do I get to the point where we're doing anal stuff, like butt stuff?
Oh.
And what I do is I give guys a progression. So it's like, okay, let's say your girl has never done butt stuff, or she's, hasn't been introduced to it yet.
Uh-huh.
Here's like a step-by-step kind of progression you can take her through over the course of several sex sessions, which can get her acclimatized to, open to the idea and enjoying the idea of butt stuff.
Uh-huh.
Right? And it's basically like a sexual compliance ladder. So you might be familiar with your viewers might be familiar with the concept of a compliance ladder, or like a yes ladder. It's like a sales kind of psychological principle where, like, if someone agrees to a very small task, like something that's not very something with not a lot of resistance, like, oh, can you grab me that pen, right? And then the next thing you do is like, oh, well, can you make me a cup of tea? Slightly more compliance required, and then you build up the compliance, right? So that's the same thing. Same principle I'm applying in this entire video course. Is like, okay, you can take girls from doing stuff that's very, very basic, and then progressively ramp it up to the point where you guys are doing really fun, kinky stuff together, and everyone's having a good time, And I have a couple of clips to show you guys if you're interested to see exactly what it looks like.
Let's definitely take a look.
It's PG-13, so Alex does not get his entire YouTube channel. Excellent.
It's just a video of you pounding the shit out of a girl. Adios, YouTube.
Yeah, basically. If I look, I have to show these demos on my own channel, so I'm definitely not going to get my own channel there. So everybody, I'm just going to share my screen with you, and I'm just going to bring the video up over here.
Yep. I'll add to the stream.
Boom. Okay, there we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. So this is an example of something you could do when you're bringing a girl home from like a date, right? So there's a couple of things you'll notice here. I'll pause it. So first things first, I'm leading her through the door. An important thing to take note of. I'm holding her by the hand and leading her through the door here.
Is this chick a porn star?
Yeah. So all the girls I use in this course, I use 4 different models in this course, and they're all porn stars. She's
hot.
Yeah. Well, I got to pick what I wanted to work with, so I picked the ones I like, basically. I'm about to throw her up against the wall here, or against the door here, rather. See where my hand went? My hand went behind her head. There's a reason for that. That is so I can push her against the door or the wall or whatever I'm pushing her against with force without smacking her head and hurting her. So I'm able to because my hand's taking the brunt of the pain there, right? Or brunt of the impact, rather. So I can push her up against the wall in a relatively forceful manner, dominant manner, without actually causing any pain, without adding any sort of awkwardness to the interaction as well. Because you bring a girl home from a date and you crack her head against the door, she's going to be like, ow, and it's going to ruin the mood, right? So it's a very, very subtle but very important detail there. A quick make out, and then an example of coquetting here. I break it off and I walk away. And she follows. That's a perfect example of coquetting right there. Yeah, so that's just one real quick example. I want to I'm just going to stop sharing here for 1 second so I can, because the idea of, I brought up this idea of coquetting just then, right? So for the guys who aren't familiar with that concept, so coquetting is what strippers do, right? So where a stripper is like, she grinds up on you, but then you try to touch her and she smacks your hand away, right? It's the idea of like sexual push-pull, right? Like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
So you're sort of leading a girl to a certain point, getting her excited, and then you're taking it away.
Which builds so much sexual tension when you do that correctly.
Exactly. And it's something that most guys don't do, because most guys are just like so keen to just get their dick wet that they're constantly just pushing. and the girl's the one that ends up sort of breaking away, and she's like, "Oh no, we can't do this," and so he has to keep chasing.
Right.
If you flip that around and do it to her, it gets their panties wet. It fucking does so many good things for you.
It drives them crazy. That if you do that, the girls are likely to jump on you and basically like rape you. Like that's like the shit turn. Like one thing I commonly do is I'll make out with a girl and then pull away, and then I'll just keep the conversation going while our faces are really close. And she's like trying to kiss me again, but I don't let her. I'm just like talking about like whatever, something that we were talking about earlier. That's like there's a lot of really powerful techniques like that, and I've never heard that term before, coquetting, but it's good shit.
That's really good. I like that. So you've made out with her and then you pull back and have a conversation like right next to her face.
Yeah. But the conversation will be also like something like sensual. I'll be like, so.
Yeah.
This is a nice balcony, right? Yeah, you like it? Yeah. It's a good one, right? Like shit like that, like super powerful.
That's the same thing, right? Why, like, because I get asked by guys a bunch about like dirty talk and things, and they ask like, oh, look, how do you get better at dirty talk? How do you get more confident doing that? And I'll tell the guys all the time that you can just like if you're a bit awkward, sort of being more like doing dirty talk in general, like at sort of the vocal tone that we're talking at right now, right? At normal conversational level, just whisper shit in her ear, and it doesn't even have to be like necessarily dirty. Just the like just describing what's going on, or just like talking normally, but whispering in a girl's ear for some reason has a very, very seductive
for sure
to it, right?
100%. Yeah. And also proximity. Like proximity is so underrated, but like if you're literally like this close to a girl, even if you're talking about super random shit, that's going to make what you're saying a lot more sexual.
Yes.
Just the proximity.
Because there's that sexual tension is in the air, right?
Yeah.
And girls love that stuff. They pick up on it. That energy, they feed off that energy. And if you're comfortable as a guy keeping that sexual tension there in the air, it just revs up her engine more and more and more. So that, like you said before, when you eventually like reinitiate, she wants to take your clothes off.
100%. Do you have any other clips we can take a look at?
I do. I need want to see another one. Where's this next one? Yes, this one is about hair pulling technique, and so I'm just going to actually didn't share the screen yet, did I? I took that away.
Now, one quick prelude. This should all be common sense, but for maybe the 1% of guys who it's not, this is all purely 100% consensual with a girl who's into it. You're not just doing this to random chicks who don't know you, right? So
No.
just want to throw that in for the SJW police.
Yeah, exactly right. Here's the thing. I'll say really quickly before I play this is the SJW police right now in for the last couple of years have been trying to like hammer home this idea that like consent is sexy, right? And look, as a guy who like I've shot for kink.com, I've shot for multiple sort of like BDSM sets before, right? Where we have to sit down and go over like a no list, like can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Right. And there's nothing more, there's nothing that destroys sexual tension more than going over a consent list. Because women don't want that. They want a guy who just knows what he's doing. They want a guy who can read their body language. They want a guy who just gets it.
Mm-hmm.
So part of learning all this stuff and part of this course is like pointing out bits of body language on girls and like and you watching and seeing the way I move and the way she moves, so you can read compliant body language. Right, so if you can tell when you're getting resistant body language, basically, so you don't have to worry about overstepping a girl's boundaries, basically. Yeah,
you're so right, dude. Like girls want a guy who knows. Like no girl wants to be pushed out of no girl wants to be made feel uncomfortable, but no girl also really wants to sit down and talk about that. Like chicks want you to just kind of get it, right? And that's when you get to a certain level of just experience and awareness, you can be there. Like for me personally, I never have to sit down and like talk to a girl about, oh, you're into this, you're into that. I can just pick up on her body language and the way she's communicating to me.
Bingo. Yeah. So let's so as we speak about consent and things, let's talk about this clip. Is going to give you a couple of examples of good and bad like hair pulling technique, and it's all. I had to cut out a little bit out of this clip because there was a third clip in there which was hair pulling during sex, and obviously I've clipped that.
Yeah,
You don't get the channel taken down. So here we're showing the correct way to pull a girl's hair. Now, there's a bit of tact here. So you'll notice that you notice where I'm grabbing it. I'm grabbing up. I'm starting at the base of her scalp, and I'm pushing up to grasp the hair in my hands like that. And then I actually have a lot of control there over her head, and this is actually a very pleasurable feeling for her. It's a pleasurable feeling, and it's a submissive feeling. She knows I'm in control. I can actually move her around, and it sends a lot of women into this very euphoric headspace, like straight away. That's how you do it from the back, and then this is how you do it from the front. Again, very subtle, and then bang, I can pull her head back, make her stare me right in the eyes. She knows who's in charge here. Now, in the next example here, the next example is a little bit exaggerated, but this is how some guys kind of pull.
Oh yeah,
just like grab tufts of it.
Yeah.
We're acting here a bit, but there is a time and a place to do that kind of hair pull, or like, and you can do this sort of when she's mushed down onto the bed in doggy style, for example. If you just live like grabbing a scrunch of hair and then turning and making out with her, that makes sense. But if you're trying to pull her hair erotically, just grabbing a random tuft and tugging her head around, that shows a lack of experience. That shows a lack of tact if you're trying to do it erotically, right? So there's a distinction here. There is a time and a place for doing something like that if she's the kind of girl who likes to be completely manhandled, completely tossed around, and actually kind of likes pain to a degree, then sure, this kind of way of pulling a girl's hair, like just wrangling her like a rag doll, there's a context for that, but you need to be able to read the girl when she's kind of into that. And like I said, I would prefer to sort of grab her hair like that when I'm mushing her into the bed somewhere. Yeah, so there you go. That's a brief.
Dude, this fucking looks epic. I think the by far the the biggest thing is that you have real life demonstrations. Like I think that this course might have been pretty good if you just explained it the way you know it, because you're pretty good explaining shit. But I think the real life demonstrations is what makes this like super fun. Like I personally plan on watching this whole thing.
Yeah, like, this isn't like a me sitting on a whiteboard, drawing diagrams and shit. This is just real stuff. And that's why I'm saying like there is like actual hardcore sex in this video course. Like no blurring or anything. It's like you can see what's going on. And the reason I did that is because I want this to be a no bullshit course for guys. There's so much shitty sex advice out there on the internet for dudes floating around. If a guy types in like, how to be better in bed, how to make women orgasm, how to please my woman in bed, he gets a list of really shit. What he gets is a list of Cosmo articles written by a fucking 18-year-old intern who doesn't know what they're doing. And then they wonder why they're not getting the same results that guys like you and me get. So
is there anything like this out there right now, or is this going to be?
There's nothing like this. That's the point. It's like years ago. Okay, years and years and years ago, back in like 1999 or 2000, there was this one product that came out called Two Girls Teach Sex, and what they did was it was a bunch of marketing guys, and they got two female porn stars, and the two lesbians did like showed guys how to like finger chicks and like eat girls out, and that was about it. Or like kiss them on the neck and make out with them. That was like basically it. And that like went gangbusters because beginning of the era of the internet and tube sites was all brand new. Since then, there's been nothing. Like no one has like ever tried to teach men an actual sex ed video course. And there's stuff out there which is like tantric, kind of a bit woo woo in my opinion, like tantric sex stuff. There is elements of tantra that work. Don't get me wrong, but talking about like energy flow and stuff like that. It's like, well, okay, if that's your style, go right ahead. But in my experience, most girls prefer a guy who can just manhandle them properly.
Right. I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, this looks pretty like really interesting. Like, actually, fun fact: we have like a list of like projects that we're going to be working on PWF, and one of the things that was on the list that we want to do for some time was actually like real life demonstration videos. Like, because I knew that a lot of guys, they ask me like, dude, what about when you're in bed? And like I can only go so far with explaining it with my words, right? Like, like sometimes you really have to see it. So we were actually planning on getting like a model and doing something like that, but it sounds like you got everything, so that's no longer necessary.
Yeah, we cover quite a lot. Like like there's a bunch of stuff I can't show you guys. Like we cover like exactly how to get a girl to squirt. We cover like various different angles you can use in basic sex positions to achieve orgasms. I cover how to fist a girl properly. Obviously, like choking and slapping is covered in this course. Lots of stuff on BDSM tools, like how to use a flogger properly, how to use a riding crop properly. I show a really versatile bondage tie that anybody can learn in like 5 minutes and look like they know a hell of a lot more than they actually do. You know, you can come across as a guy who's got a ton of experience, even though you might not.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like guys talk about like this concept of social proof in the dating area, and there's no bigger signal of social proof than knowing your way around a woman's body. Like if a woman sleeps with you and you can, you know, get her off in like a dozen different ways, like that communicates that you have been with women before.
The only thing is that you have to get that far, right? Like if a girl finds a guy really low value, he won't get that far.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
this is more for like retention and like, you know. But yeah, I definitely see the point you're making.
Yeah, it's absolutely a retention tool. And here's the other thing. Like when you kind of have that confidence in the bedroom, when you know that you can do this stuff, like one, it takes away, you know, elements of performance anxiety for a start. But the second thing is it's and I think you'd agree with this, is you exude this kind of confidence.
You have a lot more swagger.
That's it. Like you walk around like you got a big swinging dick. You know what I mean? And when you look at a girl, like in the back of your mind, you're thinking, you don't have a clue what I can do to you, young lady. Like you're in trouble if you keep talking to me. Like that's kind of the vibe you're giving off, and girls pick up on that, you know. But they also pick up on the opposite. They pick up on, you know, is this guy a bit awkward? Is he going to be a bit hesitant in the bedroom? You know.
I mean, it's definitely a really good feeling when you're on a date and you know that if this girl sleeps with you, you're going to be better than 99.9% of the guys she's been with. Like it's like you just have this natural confidence, and it's easy. Another big advantage is that you almost like, you know, some guys have this almost guilt for, you know, trying to, you know, sleep with a girl, like, oh, but sex is mainly for the man, you know, and even if logically they know that's bullshit, like subconsciously, a lot of these guys, they feel like they're taking something from the girl by sleeping with her, right? And that holds them back, you know, like crazy. But if you know you can give her an ultimate sexual experience, then that just completely obliterates that mindset. You're like, no, I'm actually doing something good for her. And it's a lot easier to accomplish your goal when unless you're like a total narcissist, when you know that it's going to be something that's going to be really beneficial for the person. It's like, you know, selling a product that fucking sucks or selling a product that's curing cancer, right? Like you're going to be a lot more passionate about the second one.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you're the one bringing value to the table.
Right.
You're flipping that. You're really flipping the script on its head. You're right. It's like, yeah, because like you said, most guys are like, oh, yay, I get my dick wet. But now it's like she's the one that should be like, yay, you know. I'm jumping into bed with Alex. It's going to be like, you know, I'm going to get my world rocked, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, I sometimes I get the question, like, oh, how do you get your girlfriend to, you know, want to be more sexual or, you know, want to do this or that with you? But like, I'm sure this is probably the case for you as well. You know, anytime, you know, I have like any kind of relationship with a girl, the girl is the one that's pushing for it way more than me because I'm just worn out. Like, if your sex game is on point, the girl should be the one that's like basically trying to like constantly rape you, right? Like you're almost like, oh, babe, let's just go to sleep, right? So like, but if your sex is really bad, then of course you're going to be the ones going for it because the girl at that point is just hanging out with you because she likes you as a person, but she's not really enjoying the sexual aspect of the relationship.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the times like guys get into sort of, especially in relationships, guys just get into like a routine.
Yeah.
And they get kind of lazy, right? And that's fine. I mean, like it's fair. You probably just ran out of ideas. You just probably if you're having sex with the same person for like an extended period of time, sometimes you just run out of things to do, you know. And that's in this course is that I show you a ton of different stuff and like I said, I've shown this video course to friends of mine who've got like 300, 400 lays, and they're looking at shit in here like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Never thought that. Never saw that. Never saw that. There's a ton of stuff in here, you know.
Yeah, definitely fascinating. Are you familiar with the book Sex God Method by Daniel Rose?
No.
Okay, I figured you were, but this sounds like basically like a much more in-depth video version of that book, and that's a book I've recommended, you know, many times. Like I think, you know, probably prior to your course, that was probably the best source of information for like that type of thing, like, you know, becoming a better lover. So yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, it's an interesting read.
Yeah. I'll check that out. Nice.
All right, man. So how can guys take advantage of this? Like, how can guys? You said it's on pre-order right now.
Yes. So the right this week it's on 50% discount from its full price. So the full price of this course is actually $799. It's quite expensive, but this is like I said, it's a 5.5 hour course, and you'll have lifetime access to this when you get it, and you'll never need like this. This is like 10 years of like professional philandering downloaded from my brain into your brain. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to need like another course on like this isn't going to change in like 5 to 10 years time. Like how to please a woman in the bedroom isn't going to magically change. Like the dating market isn't going to magically change like what women enjoy in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? So right now guys can get the course up until January the 3rd. They can get it for 50% off. And Alex here has a link that he can share with you guys.
Yeah, so what we decided to do was if you guys buy the course, I'm going to give you either 25% off the purchase of the product, or if you're already a member, I'm going to give you a free month in the mastermind as an extra bonus to do this. So make sure you use the link. So we're going to post that in the description after this live stream. But yeah, so all you have to do is just email me proof that you bought the course, and then we'll hook you up with either one of those things, whichever one you want.
Exactly, and that's before January the 3rd. You can get in on that discount.
It's funny. January 4th is my birthday, so it's like the sale ends for my birthday. Actually, guys, also since we're on this topic, January 4th, I'm going to be on Stirling's channel, and we're going to talk about Stirling's going to be interviewing me, so it's going to be interesting as well.
You're picking your brain about text game because I know you're very, very good at it because I follow you on Instagram. So I'm really, really curious to get your thoughts on lots of different things. So I'm very much looking forward to having you on my show too.
For sure, man. Looking forward as well. All right, let's crack into some questions. We have a lot of guys stacking up. All right. Hey, guys, what's up? Hey, Stirling, is your sex course coming? The kind of answer is, how can guys be more congruent and grow their dominance during sex over time?
Cool. So this idea of being congruent is like congruency is the idea of like when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all kind of in alignment with one another, right? So what incongruence generally is when you say you're thinking dominant thoughts, but your body language is sort of hesitant, right? Your actions aren't in alignment with your thoughts, or vice versa. You're trying to do something dominant, but your voice is cracking when you're saying, "Come over here," inconsistent.
Come to daddy.
Yeah, right. So being more congruent is about developing that consistency across those sort of three areas: what you're saying, what you're doing, and what you're thinking. And with a lot of guys, that the thinking thing is the part that is like the hardest. Like they're convincing themselves that to be confident in what they're doing. But luckily, this is a two-way feedback loop, right? So when you do things that are when you physically do things that are more dominant, it starts to reinforce a dominant mind frame, right? Same principle goes for like confidence, right? I think Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, like standing in like power poses makes you feel more confident.
Yeah.
Right? And then confident people tend to stand in power poses. So it's a two-way interaction, right? So what I would tell guys is to start doing more physically dominant things, and over time that will reinforce a dominant mind frame.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say baby step yourself outside your comfort zone. So if you're super timid and, shy sexually, then it probably doesn't make sense for you to go all 50 shades of gray on a chick, right? But you just slowly start, stretching your comfort zone. So you get a little bit 10%, 20%, 30%. And then that way you stay more or less congruent with how you feel on the inside.
Bingo.
All right. This is actually an interesting question. Mr. Stirling, have you ever gamed a girl who was previously apprehensive to your background?
Yeah, all the time. There's actually like guys might think that it would be very easy for me to get laid with civilians because of what I do. It's very much a polarizing thing. So like girls are like, there's no girl who's like 50-50 with it. Yeah. They're like mad keen, or they're like, it's a massive disqualifier. So
same thing with me. Exactly the same thing.
It would be. Yeah, exactly the same situation. They're just like this too much social proof. It's like,
right.
They think what they're thinking though. The thought that goes through their head is, this guy will never commit to me.
Yeah,
that's the thought that goes through their head basically. So if you find yourself in that situation, it's your job to sort of kind of play anti-game in a way. Like you've got to try and convince her that you will actually stick around to a degree. That you will actually commit a little bit, so that she's like, so she doesn't feel so insecure.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I do is I'll always say, like, you do realize that this is just my work, right? Like, fucking like a guy who's, let's just say, whatever. OB-GYN or whatever, the guy that inspects girls' pussies. Like, just because he does that, that's what he does for a living. He's not doing it because he's like a sex fiend. I'm sure maybe a few are, but like that analogy usually works pretty well for me. They're like, oh, okay, it's your work. It's not like, whatever, just who you are. Like,
yeah. That's a really good analogy, actually, using like a gynecologist as an example. I like that.
Like, would you be mad at gynecologists for looking at girls' pussies?
I'm very much stealing that. Thank you, Alex.
Go for it. All right, this is a good one. Tips for a virgin asking for a friend. LOL. Let's help the friend.
Yes. So, look, if you're a virgin, you need to not go hard on yourself for a start. Like, nobody is good in the bedroom the first time they have sex. Everyone is fucking terrible.
I was hot. 30 seconds.
I was the complete opposite. I was like, I was so nervous I couldn't orgasm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those two things is going to happen, because I've never really heard anything in between for like virginity pops. You know what I mean? But it's okay. Like, sex is a skill, guys, and it's something you have to learn through experience over time. I mean, you accumulate knowledge, and obviously courses like mine will help you. And talking to other guys who are more experienced in the bedroom, learning about the female anatomy, learning what turns them on. And look, the one sort of thing, especially if you're a younger guy and you're a virgin, the one thing you definitely have going for you is enthusiasm. So what you lack in experience, you can kind of compensate for with enthusiasm. So as long as you're having a good time and you're trying to make her have a good time, you're going to be totally fine. Don't be concerned with knocking it out of the park on the first go.
Yeah, I mean, zero chance that's going to happen. But my advice is, like, don't put a lot of importance on the fact that you're a virgin. Try to, in your mind, convince yourself that it's the equivalent of you, like, not having worked out for a few weeks. Like, even though it's not bad, but because the bigger deal you make out, don't tell the girl first. I would not, unless she's your girlfriend or something like that. Don't tell her, and just try not to think of it as a big deal, and just try to just try to lose your virginity. Like, we have a video on actually the channel we did a few months ago where I interviewed a PWF member who was a virgin for a very long time, and then we helped him lose his virginity. And actually, funny enough, the way he lost his virginity was pretty epic. Like, there was like fucking ropes and shit involved. So like he just fucking. He just fucking went, but the big issue he was having is he was placing so much importance on the fact that he's a virgin, it's his first time, that literally he had, like, for the past, 4 months, he had like numerous girls over his place, and he couldn't get hard because he was so fucking nervous about it. And then, like, the big thing I had to convince him was, like, dude, like, it's not a big deal. Like, just forget about the fact that you're a virgin. There's not like a big sign on your head that says, I'm a virgin, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, and then that was like a big game changer for him.
Nice. Very happy to hear that. It's good.
Let's take a look at this. What are your thoughts on my experiment that a girl gets 20, 30 times as many likes on Tinder compared to a guy of similar SMV? Why is this the way society works, and how do you stand out? So, go ahead. I'm just
trying to catch up. So this is an experiment that you've done, Alex.
It's an experiment I've done. Sounds like it's an experiment that this other guy did. Yeah, we did an experiment to see how many likes a hot girl would get in 24 hours and how many likes an average girl would get in 24 hours. So I was actually kind of taken aback by the results myself. So the hot girl got 1,000 likes in 24 hours, which is okay. It's on the high end, but that makes sense. What I was not prepared for was how many likes the average girl will get. And this chick was like, when I say average, I mean like probably a lot below. Like, I wouldn't personally never hook up with this girl. Like, I do not find her attractive at all. Like, for me, she'd be like a 4 or something like that. Yeah. She got 500 likes in 24 hours. So I was really taken aback by the fact that, an average girl really doesn't do almost as good as a really hot girl, right? So to me, that was like, wow, I did not expect that. But so it's just, first of all, it's important to keep in mind that this is the way it works in Western countries, but this is not the case for every place in the world. If you go to Colombia, you go to Eastern Europe, you go to Southeast Asia, it's not going to be like this, right? Like, of course, girls will do still a little bit better there, but it's not going to be like, 20 to 30 times better. It might be like, 50% better. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. A lot of it has to do with just, where you live. The second of it is it is what it is. Like, does it suck? Yeah, maybe in some ways. However, there's some silver linings, and there's a few. First of all, and I talked about this in my video, first of all, most guys, vast majority of guys have shitty profiles. Like they have weird selfies. They have, just dumb shit that if you're a PWF, subscriber, you will not do because you already know better. And secondly, the guys who do have decent pictures, vast majority of them have horrible text game. So that's another thing I broke down in my video, how pretty much like vast majority of guys were saying the same exact thing in their openers. Like none of them were being creative or witty or kind of, a little ballsy. So, there's a lot of silver linings. So yes, initially the girl has it easier, but if you know game and you know what you're doing, then you're definitely going to stand out in of itself. Also, another thing you will hear is like, so many girls talk about, it's so hard to find a guy, right? Like, what do they mean? I mean, if any one of those girls creates a Tinder, they'll get 1,000 likes in 24 hours. Yeah. But what they mean is that it's hard to find a guy that's good. And when we say good, we don't mean like he's like nice. We say like he's great in bed, he's confident, he's not needy, shit like that. And those guys are very rare.
Yeah. She wants to find a guy that's not like the 599 other dudes that swiped on her, basically.
Exactly. All right, let's take this question real quick. How old are you?
I am 33.
Okay. How often do you have women who think you just want sex? How do you address her concerns in an alpha way?
I mean, this is kind of what we talked about before with, like it's very polarizing. It's especially with my background, it's like they assume that I want sex like straight away, based purely upon what I do, right?
I feel like for you, that might actually be pretty easy to handle because all you have to say is like, I just have passionless sex all day at work. Why would I want that in my personal life?
Exactly. It's like, it's sex on a porn set is very different from sex in real life. Very. That's kind of how I tell girls that to start with. But I'm maybe this is we can come from a bit more of a general kind of take on this question because how often would you think you want sex? How would you address the concern of women just thinking you want sex if you weren't, say, like you or me, right?
I would hit it with a depends exactly how it came up and at what point. Like for example, are we laying in bed and I'm rubbing up against her and she's like, do you just want sex? Or are we like we just met and we're like first 5 minutes of the conversation and she's like, do you want sex? Those would be handled totally differently. But generally I would start off with a takeaway. I would say, when did I say that? Right? Because chances are you never actually said you just want sex, right? And if you did, then I don't recommend that. I never like to be, I'll use a lot of dirty talk, I'll sex, but I'll never explicitly say, hey, I just want to fuck you, right? Because that
you want to say it without saying it.
Exactly. You want to have that plausible deniability. And so I always like to leave myself a tiny amount of plausible deniability. So I'll say, when did I say that? Right? That gets the girl to basically question her assumption. Right? It's a lot more powerful if she questions her assumption versus you are trying to question her assumption. So she goes, well, I guess you never really said that, but I just assumed. I was like, well, why did you assume? Right? Just take it a level further. She'll be like, well, I don't know. You just kind of seem like a fuck boy. I'll be like, first of all, I'm a fuck man. I'm not a fuck boy. Like, throw some humor into it, right? Like something like that. She'll be like, haha, diffuse the situation. And I'll be like, look, you seem like a cool girl. Like, honestly, I didn't really have any expectations. I just thought we get to know each other and see how things unfold, right? But so what that answer does is it reframes it and deals with her concern, but also I'm not saying, no, it's okay, we don't have to do anything, right? Because then, it's going to be harder for me to fuck her later because then she's going to be like, well, you said we don't have to do anything and, I wasn't going to have sex with you. But if you say, look, like, let's just go with the flow and see how we click, see if we have chemistry. That's so much better to handle that. So that's probably how I would go about it.
There was an old, there's a really old pickup like line. I can't see if I remember what it was. It was something like, if she brings up like sex, you can throw at it, well, at least buy me a drink first before you try to get in my pants. You flip the script onto her, like she's trying to get you into bed, right? And the other thing is, like, any guy who's gotten laid a bunch will tell you is the moment a girl says to you, oh, by the way, we're not sleeping together tonight.
It's the moment sex is going to happen.
Fuck you. Any guy will tell you this.
Yeah, any guy who knows game. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember, dude, one time I was in college, way before I learned game, and I was coming back with a chick from a bar, and she says, by the way, just so you know, we're not going to have sex. And I thought that, the way I would handle that now, I'd be like, of course not, right? I would just brush it off. But the way I handled it at the time was, debating her. Why? Well, I'm like, well, maybe it would be good, blah, blah, blah. And then completely fuck that up. But yeah, as long as you're cool, you're golden.
Yeah, if she says that, you just flip it like, by the way, when I'm having sex tonight, well, good. Did you think I was that easy? Yeah. You gotta take me out to dinner first, honey. It's just, you just say the same shit to them that they say to you all the fucking time. And it's because it's funny when you say it as a guy.
Really, the only way to fail that is to take it seriously and get into a logical debate with her. Like, as long you can just say, of course not. You can say, just some humor. Like, as long as you do that, then you're golden. All right, so this is an interesting question. How often do you vary between wild, rough sex and slow and passionate? How do you know which one to do, like reading a girl?
It's a very good question. So a lot of the time it depends what kind of mood I'm in. And then I do have to read the girl as well. Like, if it's a situation, like typically I prefer to go a bit more wild, like the first few times. And then once I feel out like the chemistry between me and a girl, then I'd rather go, find like a tempo that's a bit slower and works for both of us, because I've kind of already figured out what really gets her off, and I'll just push those few buttons and then go at like a slower like pace for myself. That's kind of like, there's no real like hard and fast rules about it, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's more about like, does she, here's like the defining factor. It would be like, does this girl already think I am like the absolute bee's knees, right, in her mind? If she already thinks that I'm the absolute bee's knees and she's got no, she really thinks I'm the shit, then it's like, okay, well, I don't necessarily have to bring like 10 out of 10 game in the bedroom straight away. If I can tell she's like a bit on the fence, she's like, she'll still fuck me, but she's like, oh, he's cool. Then I'll rock her world, and she's like, oh damn, like okay, and then she's in like the rotation, like she's sticking around, So kind of like what I want out of the situation, I guess.
I think an important thing that you said that I want to reiterate is it depends on my mood, right? So I think some guys have this idea that like, it's okay, there's extremes, right? You don't want to be the guy who's a selfish lover and just cares about himself. But then there's the other end of the spectrum, which I see from time to time, which are guys who are just like, their whole thing is pleasing the girl. But if you're only focused on pleasing the girl, ironically, you're actually not going to please the girl as well as you could. Like, it's more about like how you're feeling, how she's feeling, and just like the moment, right? Like, why do so many girls like it when you come? Like, so many girls get turned on by that. It's just female psychology. They like it. So like, I'm sure, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I've actually had some chicks almost get upset because I didn't come. Like, I've had that happen. Like, one chick was like, no, I can't leave until you come. It's bad luck. Like, some like superstitious. Yeah. She's like, no. And she like really refused. We tried for like 3 hours. I was just fucking drunk that night.
It's like it's a self-esteem thing for them. Especially if they derive a lot of their self-esteem from their sexuality.
Yeah, 100%.
This is the thing that I have, like, and I can't get him off. It really fucks with their head a bit. Some guys will use that as like, like a kind of a game technique. I don't like to use it like that. I think
fuck that. I mean, what, you're gonna take all like the best part of sex out just so you can get the girl better? Okay. And I don't even think it's going to be that efficient. I think that it's better just to give her a good sexual experience, and you guys both come. I think it's a lot better. And I think that, to go back to the question, I think a lot of girls would enjoy both of those things. Sometimes they like it wild and rough, and sometimes they like it slow and passionate. Of course, there's some girls who don't like it rough. I think pretty much every girl is down for slow and passionate at some point. So
there's a time and a place for it. It's fine, It's sort of like, are you in spontaneous mode, or are you in like, oh, we're chilling and snuggling on the couch mode?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of it, depends on the situation. Alex, how often do you have conversations with girls online that start okay but don't end in a meetup? All the time. Some guys have this idea that like my texting is so good, which it's pretty good, but I'm not getting 100% of the girls. I'm not even getting 50. Like me and Jamal, we sat down and we talked about, percentages, like what percentage of girls that you match with and in sex, and it's less than 10%. Like even the best fucking guys, like any guy who says, oh, I get like 25, 50% of the girls, bullshit. I challenge them to prove that shit. Unless you're like cherry picking. Yeah. So all the time. What I do, there's two things that I do. I optimize my chances by running good game, and I run high volume. And that's really all you need to do.
That's all. Like guys who get laid a lot, all they're doing is running a lot of volume.
Yes.
That's like one of the biggest things they do is they just constantly talking to chicks.
Yes, exactly. That's the part of the, that some like PUAs choose to like skip over, because it's not a good sales pitch. Like, if you run high volume and good game, you will get girls. It's much easier to say get the first girl that you talk to. That's a much better sales pitch. But again, that's just not how it works. Sterling, are you anti-fab? If so, if not, do you pull to your own videos?
Fucking great question. I'm kind of like anti-fap for like. So I'm not a semen retention guy. So I'm not like never orgasm. Like don't spray your woman with spew because it makes you more powerful. I don't believe in that bullshit. I do, however, think like that porn is very bad for dudes, despite the fact that I'm in porn.
The ironic part.
The irony of it. It's look okay. Like if you're on a dry spell and you want to whack one off every like 3 months or whatever, fine. But if you're doing it like habitually as a pattern, if it's like you need to masturbate to go to bed, or you need to do it every day or something like that, then it's a bad habit to get into, right?
100%.
Because it takes away the motivation to go and talk to girls. Like the best thing you can do if you want to get better with girls and you want to go out and talk to more girls, the best thing you can do is to not fap, and then you're just sexually frustrated, like fuck, I'm going to talk to somebody. It's the way of forcing you to do it, and by doing that, you become you grow as a person. You become more comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You become better at socializing, et cetera, et cetera. There's infinite positive benefits to going out and talking to beautiful women, right? Definitely. So I'm to a degree, I am kind of anti-fap. However, there is one really strong benefit you guys can use masturbation for, and I talk about this in my ebook, and it's the idea of kind of conditioning if you have a problem with, say, premature ejaculation or even with delayed ejaculation, sometimes this can stem from your masturbation habits. And for example, with a lot of guys who prematurely ejaculate, you'll notice that when they masturbate to porn, they're watching the first video they find and jerking off and coming in 30 seconds. And then they're wondering, gee, when I'm in bed with a woman, why am I coming in 30 seconds? Well, because you've trained your body to do that, right? So I tell guys, if you have that problem, use your masturbation session as kind of like training wheels for like laying your orgasm for a bit longer and getting your body used to that. So there is a use for it, and that's the use I tell guys to do it for. And do I pull to my own videos? When I'm editing my own stuff, it's I really enjoy it. So if I'm editing my own stuff that I filmed, I'm like, damn, this is hot. Sometimes, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, like I have obviously you have a million times more videos than me, but I have a few on my phone that I filmed, and like sometimes when I'm like falling asleep behind the wheel or something like that, like I'll just watch my video. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, like, for me, just like the fact that I'm in it definitely is like a huge turn on versus just like a random porn star.
Yeah, maybe there's a narcissist in us.
Yeah, the narcissism in us. Got your ebook, Mr. Cooper. Good read.
Good man.
Do either of you do Kegels or recommend them? How much do they help? Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah. Kegels are fantastic. Every guy should do Kegels. If there's one thing that any man could do to help his sex life, no matter what issues he's facing, Kegels can help towards a lot of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, Kegels are really good for a ton of things. So Kegels are really good for control. So like premature ejaculation control. They're also really good for increasing the volume of your ejaculate. They actually make your orgasm feel better. They're also good for longer lasting erections. They have multiple benefits. So for those guys who don't know what a Kegel is, that when you're peeing, right, when you're taking a piss, when you clench and you stop the piss from flowing out of your penis, that is one Kegel, that clench that you just did. So that exercising that muscle, that's called the PC muscle, and that sort of sits at the sort of in the gooch area. It's like up in there. And you can train these. You can just sort of do that squeezing motion. You can start off by like if you've never done it before, you can start off by just doing 50 really rapid Kegels. Just do that every morning. You're not going to tire yourself out. And then you can start amping the reps up every week. And then you can start progressing to something that's a bit more. You can start doing a hold Kegel. So like rather than just doing rapid ones like that, right? You can squeeze and then try to hold for like 3 seconds and then release. Squeeze and hold. And then release. And you can start building up like that way. And this will, if you keep doing this consistently, this will make your boners unshakable.
Really? Okay, dude. I've actually never fucked around with this, but I'm gonna start. So what's a good number of Kegels for a guy to be able to do?
So just to start off, if you're brand new at it, just try and do 50 in the shower. You do that's the thing. You can do this while you're showering, so it's like you're not wasting any time. So just start off doing 50 a day for like a week, but do the really, really quick ones. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And sort of if you can build up to the point where you're build up to say where you're doing maybe 300 of those in the shower in the morning, and then if you can do that, then start doing like holding ones, and start doing 3-second hold ones, and see if you can do start with say 20 3-second holds, and then the next week see if you can do 40 3-second holds, because it's actually the holding portion which is actually really, really beneficial. Once the muscle's strong enough to sort of hold for a few seconds, that's when you're really, really getting lots of benefits from it.
Interesting. And then do you recommend doing this every day or like twice a week? What's like
once the reps start going up really high, so the first week 50 a day is fine. You're not gonna exhaust your muscles, your PC muscles. Once you start doing like 300, 500 a day or something, or you're doing like 50 hold Kegels a day, do 2 days on, 1 day off. Like take a day off every now and then, just because it's like any other muscle. It's going to need to recover.
Yeah, like you're at the gym and so what are you working on today? Oh, today's my rest day. What do you mean you're at the gym? Yeah, but I'm resting my dick. Interesting. So you really do notice, because I wasn't actually, this is a question I had as well, because I thought there was I was like, Kegels, maybe it's bullshit. But you've actually noticed tangible benefits from doing these?
Yeah. This is a very, very common thing for guys in porn to use.
Okay. Interesting.
And if you get your girl to do them, she will have amazing control over her vagina.
Maybe I'll do a video where I'll fuck around with this. I'll me pre-Kegel, and then I'm gonna do a video post-Kegel and evaluate how well it works. 60 days. What do you think is a good number? 30, 60 days to see the effects?
You could see. So you should be able to see some pretty strong effects within about 30 days if you do it consistently.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be my one of my videos for 2021. Mr. Cooper, were you born charismatic or did you practice it, for networking and at orgies and stuff?
Good question. I was extremely shy, extremely socially awkward as a teenager. I had to learn all this shit the hard way. I picked up mystery method in the game when I was 20. Actually, no, I picked up David D'Angelo's what was it called, Cocky Funny, back when I was 18. I was 18 or 19. I got that, and then read the game and mystery method and shit. And I spent my 20s learning how to socialize. And now I'm a charming, charismatic guy, as you say. So it took a while. Lots of public speaking, lots of leadership stuff. So I kept putting myself in my 20s. I kept putting myself in sort of leadership positions, organizing social events, pushing my comfort zone quite a lot, and forcing myself into positions where I had to command a room and speeches. Because that just makes you more confident. And so now I act, and I'm relatively good at it. So there you go.
What would you say were the top 3 or 4 things that were game changers for you when it came to becoming more charismatic?
Being a good public speaker was the first one. Being a good public speaker, being comfortable being the center of attention would be the second one. So if you're hosting a party, being walking around the room, kind of playing that host role, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Just having those quick 30-second conversations all the way around a room and being the center of attention, being comfortable being that guy is a really, really big thing. I was going to say a third thing. A third thing is cold approach pickup, man. Nothing makes you more sharp socially than just talking to hot chicks who make you nervous. Pushing
100%. Okay, another good question, Sterling. Can you give tips for giving mind-blowing oral?
Yes, I can. In my video course, I give you as part of the there's actually an entire bonus module attached to this video course, which is and one part of that bonus module is my foolproof method for eating pussy, which is a 20-minute breakdown. But I'll give you one of the core concepts of it now, so you can actually implement this. And one of the core concepts of being really good at eating pussy is slow the fuck down. A lot of guys go down. A lot of guys are really enthusiastic about it, and that's fine. That's great. If you want, it's good that you want to give your woman an orgasm, but women are different. Women, every woman's kind of different in what she likes down there. Some girls like a lot of pressure. Some girls don't like a lot of pressure. Some girls like a quick kind of pace. Some girls like a slow pace. So what you can do is you can start off, you can't, the concept is like you're kind of trying to tease an orgasm out of her actually. So if you start off incredibly slowly and softly and then gradually like build up the pace, like build up the intensity and the speed, at a certain point you're going to find her sweet spot, because some girls like it softer, some girls like it faster, etc. So at a certain point, if you start really slowly and then you just slowly build up, you're going to find that sweet spot where she is, where her favorite spot is. And then once you found that spot, you just stay the fuck there. You don't change your pace. Keep doing what you're doing until she pops. And the second thing you can do, the second thing that helps you find that spot, is you tell her, because one of the things that guys do wrong when they eat a girl out is they'll say things like, "Do you like that? Is that good?" Like they'll maybe sort of generic phrases. And a woman doesn't want to hurt your ego, especially in the bedroom, so she's not going to say, "No, that's terrible. You're doing it wrong." She's just going to say yes and humor you. We'll just go along with it, right? So what you tell her instead is, "I only want you to say one of four things: harder or softer, faster or slower." That's all she's allowed to say. Harder, softer, faster, slower. So then as you start off very slowly and softly, and she's telling you, she knows she can only say these four things, so then she'll just guide you to that sweet spot. She'll say harder, softer, faster, slower, bang. That's the sweet spot. All right, and you stay there, and then bang.
Dude, that's a fucking genius idea. I've never tried that, but it sounds pretty epic. What do you think about like fingering the girl while you eat her out? Do you find that, like, personally for me, that's like, while you're hitting her G spot while you're kissing her clit?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I like to do as well. Like get the fingers in there, do the come hither on the G spot, and then focus on it. Yeah.
You know what I find is really powerful? Putting the Hitachi on her clit and then using your fingers to hit her G spot. Like that is just like destroys girls.
The Hitachi is undefeated.
Undefeated, yeah. And the cool thing about the Hitachi is, like, most chicks have never experienced it, so she's going to associate, even if it was the Hitachi that did like 99% of the work, she's going to associate that with you.
Bingo. You're giving her an experience she's never had before.
Exactly. Alex, if a girl's on her period, do you always use the red fairy doesn't scare me line? How could I propose the date effectively if necessary? No, not always. Just depends on the situation. I just find that I don't use this in real life, but over text, if the girl's like, yeah, but it's that time of the month, I'll say, don't worry, I'm a man. The red fairy doesn't bother me. And I find that line works quite well. But if it's like in real life, I'll just be like, listen, babe, you're fucking sexy. I do not care. I know you're probably used to guys who are little bitches. I'm a fucking man. I do not care about this. It's totally cool. We'll just put a towel down.
Exactly. Just lay a towel down. Like lay a towel down and turn the lights down if you can. Like, because that half the time that gets rid of like a lot of their like anxiety if you just turn the lights down lower. Then they can't see anything. They're worried about being embarrassed.
Yeah, that's all they're worried about. They're worried about being embarrassed. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want you to judge them. And if you take that out of the equation, you're going to have pretty good success. Another thing that's worked really well for me, and this is, I'm sure you can confirm this, true. Like if you get a girl really horny, her blood flow to that area shuts off and she doesn't actually bleed. Like the hornier the girl is, the less likely there's to be blood. If you get a girl horny enough, even on second day of her cycle, there will be close to no blood. So I'll tell her this. I'll be like, listen, I'm just gonna have to get you so fucking horny that you're not even gonna be on your period. And she's like, what? Is that possible? Yeah, it is.
There you go. Ta-da.
All right. The only thing I will not do is I will not eat a girl out on her period. That just kind of grosses me out. I know some dudes are into that. What are the best tips for women to be better in bed, other than the obvious showing enthusiasm, oral, etc.? Ooh, a chick.
Here's the thing. Like with oral, like most girls think that they're good at giving a blowjob. The unfortunate reality is most girls are not actually that great at giving a blowjob. What I'll say with giving blowjobs for chicks is don't do a show job. A show job is like what you see in porn, where it's like the pterodactyl fucking sound, and it's all this drool, and like it's very enthusiastic and it's very fun to watch. But that shit like scrapes teeth over your dick. It doesn't feel fantastic. A lot of the time, like you can help if she wants to like please her man. Help him just like chill down and relax and like use this idea of coquetting that strippers use, right? And like again, same principle I just talked about with eating pussy. Start really slow and sensually if you're giving a blowjob, and basically tease an orgasm out of your man, like that he can just chill and relax and enjoy you getting him off. You know, let him have a night off where he doesn't have to put any work in for a bit.
I think a lot of it will also depend on knowing the guy that you're with. Like, different dudes are into different shit. Like, for example, a lot of guys really love blowjobs. Me personally, I'm not that big on blowjobs. Like, I prefer sex, like, significantly. Like, some dudes are really into anal. I prefer, like, regular vaginal sex. So I think a lot of it also just depends, on your partner as well. All right. Should you ever qualify yourself to a girl in an in-person over text situation? If so, how far is too far when it comes to qualifying and giving up your friend? It's a really vague question. Depends what do you mean by qualify. Some people have totally different, like saying something like, don't worry, we're going to have a good time. Some guys might think that's qualifying yourself. Like, it just depends, like, what your definition of qualify. But generally speaking, I personally never really qualify myself to women. I don't try to, like, prove anything to them because just the act of qualifying in of itself is low value. So that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah,
what do you think?
The question there, like the thing you said that was really important there was like, are you trying to prove something to her? Ask as you're about to like type something or say something. If you're thinking in the back of your mind, am I trying to prove something to her right now? Then you kind of know that you're trying to like get her approval. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, she needs to know this one thing. Wait, why does she need to know this one thing? Oh, it's because I'm trying to like get her approval. Oh, she doesn't need to know this thing. That's kind of how I'd approach it.
Yeah, some chicks, especially like the hot party girls, will bait you into qualifying. It's a trap that a lot of guys fall into. There'll be something like, I don't know, I've had pretty good partners in bed. What makes you think that? Why are you better, or something like that? And then guys just fall into that trap. They just start logically justifying. Oh well, you had this girl yesterday who I gave this many orgasms to blah blah, and it's a trap that you want to avoid, right? You never want to qualify yourself. Okay. After I sleep with women, I always say something like, insert girl's name. Can I ask you a question? Then after she says, yes, shoot, I then say, I'm really into self-improvement, personal development. So with that being said, do you have any suggestions on how I can be better in bed?
Women are terrible at giving advice to men when it comes to bedrooms. Well, when it comes to like women, basically. Never listen to a woman when it comes to like dating advice, like picking chicks up or being better in bed. You don't ask a sheep how to shear its own wool.
You're right 99% of the time. I do think it is possible because I've done videos with girls. If I brief them before the video and I ask the questions in the right way, I can actually get a genuine, accurate response out of them. But yeah, like that involves more game to do that rather than like just figure it out yourself.
Like you've got to guide their thought patterns to elicit the truth, like, to get the correct, like it's like you've got to guide them into kind of self-reflection, like recognizing what they've done and what they've responded to, right? Instead of like what they think they like, what they think.
100%, yeah. And it's not that girls are trying to lie to you. It's just that's really like they're trying to be helpful. And they're giving you like the answer that they think is correct. It's just like, I had this one chick I made a video with a while back. And then like she was like super fucking submissive, just into being choked and hair pulled and just like into all this fucking shit. And then I tried making a video on her where I wanted her to explain from her perspective, what women are turned on by. And like her answer was something like, well, you just want to be very respectful and ask for consent. And then make sure after she says yes, you are very careful. And like, you would not be into any of that stuff. If I did that, we would not have had sex.
Exactly.
Like, you're not into any of that. So it's like, she's like, well, maybe you're right. So that you really have to go down the trail of lies. Personally, I would not ask a girl the first time I hooked up with her. But if it's a partner who I'm seeing, I might ask, be like, hey, so what turns you on the most about her sex life or something like that. Just depends on the situation.
Yeah, I mean, like probably a better question is like, what's a fantasy you've always had, or what's the fantasy you've always wanted to try that you've never experienced before?
Yes, yeah.
Because that gives you an idea of like where to go,
Yeah, for sure.
Rather because like the frame of like, how can I be better in bed is kind of like the frame there is kind of off. It's like, I'm not good enough. Teach me how to be better.
Yeah, what's something that I actually got into pretty recently? It's role plays. Like I've done a few fair share of them like earlier, but it was like not something I was consistently doing. But like, I think with a partner, a girl who you've been hooking up with for a while, if things are starting to get a little stale, like role plays are just fucking great for adding, just a lot of, oh shit, my computer's starting to spaz out. What the fuck happened here? Adding variety. Does it look fine on your end, or is it just...
You're coming through fine to me, yeah.
Okay, yeah, my screen is fucking spazzing out. Bear with me for 1 second.
That Miami internet. How are we doing in the chat? How far away? Oh, we've almost got up all the questions here. A question here from Jal. Boring Kitchen. Thank you for saying my mic is amazing. You're welcome. Okay, we've got Eric Johnson's question and Jal's question. All right, we'll wait for Alex to get back before we jump into these. Well, in the meantime, on January the 4th, Alex is coming on to my channel. You can if you just type in Stirling Cooper into YouTube, you'll be able to find my YouTube channel. I do live streams every Monday, Friday. So Alex will be joining me on January the 4th on his birthday of all days. So he's very graciously decided to jump on the show, and I'm going to be grilling him on text gaming techniques and sexting techniques. So,
all right, we are back.
I was just telling everyone that you're going to be on my show on the January the 4th.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Also, dude, another big thank you. I was able to get Sarah J to come on January 8th.
Excellent. Great. Sarah's lovely. You're going to love Sarah. She's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Definitely looking forward to that one. For sure. All right. Let's see what else we got. Okay. How do you help guys with social anxiety kind of problems? How do you help them be able to get comfortable on the social interactions?
You got to do. There was something one of my friends used to do. He used to do like deliberately do socially awkward things because social anxiety is like a fear of being ostracized from the group. It's like a fear of being stupid, a fear of making yourself look stupid in front of others, and being socially unacceptable, right? So he would deliberately do little things that were like socially awkward. Like at the checkout line in a supermarket, he would deliberately take longer. Like he would deliberately take a bit of time, like, and slow everyone down behind him, just to feel that social anxiety and sit in it for a minute and be comfortable with it. He wouldn't do that all the time, but that's where he would start. He would start with something like that, right? And he's like, okay, now I'm comfortable at this level of social anxiety. What's the next level of social anxiety I can get to? He'd do something like he'd walk into a roundabout in like a busy intersection and like, I don't know, like cluck like a chicken really loudly. Like, that's like several layers later. He'd just do stupid shit to deliberately make himself, kind of be comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, which is actually pretty powerful when you're getting into game, just pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. A big thing that helped me get better at game was doing door-to-door sales. If you can spend 3 fucking hours knocking on people's doors, which is way more uncomfortable than approaching people because you're like on their turf. Typically, they don't want you there. They're tired of door-to-door salesmen. If you can do that, you're gonna be pretty comfortable just randomly approaching a girl. At least that's what I've kind of observed.
I agree with that. Salesmen make very good. Most guys who are good at sales are very good at picking up chicks.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. I have a shy girl coming over this weekend. I like things to escalate. Any tips?
Well, if she's shy, you're probably gonna have to lead through most. You're basically gonna have to lead through most of the interaction. And
yes,
don't expect her to sort of initiate anything. One really easy way to sort of guide things towards a sexual spot is when you're making out with her. If things are feeling kind of getting hot and heavy, grab her hand and put it on your dick.
Yes,
especially if you have a boner. You have a boner, make out with her. We're talking about you've made out for a few minutes or whatever. Like,
yeah,
grab her hand, put it on your dick. This is a clear indication of where things are going.
Yeah,
she cannot confuse the signal. It's like we're going towards Pound Town.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Another really good one is just offer to give her a massage. Again, like this is after the makeout. Don't be like she comes in, hey, you want a massage? When things are getting hot and heavy and she's shy, I like that a lot. Be like, hey, let me give you a massage, right? And then it's obviously she has to take her shirt off, use some oil, start off by actually giving her a massage, and then just move over, start rubbing her boobs, and just like, from there, it's also very easy to escalate.
That's good advice. I like that.
All right. If you're good at sex, how do you deal with a girlfriend who's crazy for it and wants it like 8 times a day? If she could have it, it doesn't seem sustainable for a relationship to have that much sex.
Well, you don't have to orgasm 8 times a day. As a guy, you can like give her a bit, get her off, then go have a sandwich. Like you can space your load out if you need to deliver that kind of a sexual experience for her. But it's also totally fine to like keep her horny and waiting for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If she's chasing you for sex a bunch, obviously you don't want to not give it to her. You do want to give it enough that she sticks around and doesn't, she's like, oh, this guy's not giving me any dick. I'm moving. But it's okay for her to like want it more than you want it.
Yeah, you don't have to constantly give a girl whatever she wants. Like that's like you're sitting, whatever, you're having dinner and she's like, I want a cannoli. Okay, I'm gonna run across town to the bakery shop and get you cannoli. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't do that with other areas. So like sex is really no different. And if you can build anticipation, like you said, like, hang on, babe, let me finish work first. Be patient. Go play with yourself, but you're not allowed to come. Like shit like that. That's the thing I commonly do. I tell girls they're not allowed to come when they touch themselves. So if you do that, like then when you do hook up, it's going to be like way more fucking satisfying for her. But your job is not to just like try to constantly meet every single one of her needs, right? Like, you do want to meet her needs, but it also has to be like reasonable. Okay. Do you have any tips to identify what kind of sex does a girl like when you're making out with her?
You can kind of get a feel for, some girls can obviously want to go a lot more rougher than other girls. So that's obvious. But you have to sort of be able to read the body language during sex. It's not really something I could immediately tell when I'm making out with a girl. Maybe if the way I pull her hair from making out with her, she gives like a really, really big grin and a big sigh. I'm like, okay, this girl is kind of into like pain and into being dominated. Or if I'm like, even if I'm making out with a girl, I might start like choking her a little bit while I'm making out with her. Depending upon how she's responding to that, then I'm like, okay, this is a path we definitely want to go down because she's really, really getting off this, or even if I'm like making out with and I grab her hands and hold her hand, like pin her hands behind her back with one hand, and she's very receptive to that. I can sort of gauge what things I can do in the bedroom during the makeout to a degree, but more often than not, I'd rather be looking at her body language during the act of sex.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. Okay, we got a question that actually it's a good thing people ask. Someone asked, Potts has been posting a lot of AMS type game in the mastermind group. Any update on AMS coming on the street? So I actually disagree with a pretty fair share of stuff that AMS talks about. I think he's too red pill and blah, blah, blah. But that being said, I do respect the guy. And I think we would have a very, very interesting debate. I would totally be down, even though we don't agree on everything, on having out for a live stream. However, AMS is being a little shy. Maybe he's too nervous, and we'd understand. But I don't know why. I reached out to him through friends and blah, blah, blah. And he's just, he's just like not coming on. So if you guys want this interview to happen, fucking post in his comments. Be like, yo, man, come on PWF. Do a live stream with them. Because the more you guys basically put that in his mind, the more likely he is to come on. Do you know who AMS is? Alpha Male Strategist?
Oh, I think I'm going on his live stream later in the week. Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I think I am. Actually.
Are you?
Maybe.
Okay.
My phone is currently blowing up from the Twitter you mentioned earlier. I will not be looking at that anymore.
Oh yeah, share with the guys. You were telling me the story.
Look, if you go find my Twitter, it's at Stirling Cooper X. You'll see that I have been cancelled from like half the porn industry today for a very racy tweet I put out. I won't say any more than that, really.
Do you think this will actually have a tangible effect on your ability to get work, or do you think it's just more like something?
Well, look, I can work in Europe if America doesn't want me. They're a lot less sensitive here in Europe in the porn industry. They're not as SJW
Yeah, they also, what I heard is in Europe, they don't pay you more to fuck a black guy. You know, if you're a chick, like America's like the only country that does that.
Yeah, America's the only country that has an IR rate, is what we call it, an interracial
Yeah.
rate. It's the only, and it's only for a white chick to fuck a black dude. It's not me to fuck a black girl or a black girl to fuck me. There's no IR rate there. It's only one instance, so it's a really retarded system.
Which, if you think about it, is pretty fucking racist. I mean, you're like, oh yeah, what do you think about the porn industry in Japan? I heard that in Japan, there's like fucking 10 guys for 1,000 girls.
They don't like Western dudes.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yeah, they have to have Japanese dudes. But if you're an Asian looking guy, you want to get into porn, go to Japan because they're desperate for dudes who can do the job.
Do you think there's some demand for white guys? Like, do you think someone who's established as you would be able to go to Japan and get work, or is it really
I know one director in Japan who has started getting white dudes and actually like European chicks as well, and shoot with their local Japanese talent. So there's one guy who's doing it.
I'm sure there's a lot of demand for watching a Japanese-looking guy fuck a white chick. But I can imagine the other way around. That's where like the issue is.
Yeah, that's the thing, because Japanese dudes are the main consumers of Japanese porn, right? So they don't want to see like Western dude come in and have it take his woman away. Yeah,
that's like their biggest fear. All right, quick question here. What's your opinions on John Anthony from Jal? I mean, he's a really good buddy of mine, so I'm going to be very biased, but I like him. We don't agree on everything. We have different styles, but he does have really one thing I can 100% vouch for is his game is 100% legit, because I've personally gotten out with him multiple times and I've seen him pull girls to my place and shit. So his game is extremely legit. But do I agree with all the roast videos he makes and all that? No, not really. But like again, we don't have to agree on everything to be friends. So, are you familiar with Jay Mulf?
Nah, I'm not familiar with this guy.
Cool. Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. He has it's probably one of the most controversial YouTube channels when it comes to pickup, because all he does is make roast videos.
Fair enough.
All right, let's take like one or two more questions. If you're really good in bed and you would like to have threesomes with women you're having sex with, how do you keep the girls from being selfish and her understanding that sharing is caring? Okay, that's a good question.
Make it about her. It's not about you. With threesomes, especially because it's like you always say, like, with the typical way that guys do threesomes, it's like, okay, it's like you and then your primary girl, and then you're bringing another girl in, right? And it's about your girl. It's not about you. It's about, hey, honey, me and this girl are going to pleasure you. Your dick is just a spectator, and your dick. Like Patrice O'Neill used to say this. Like he's like, your dick is just a spectator, and if it's hanging around long enough, eventually they're going to play with it. But you start it off and you sell it, and you make the focus of it about your chick, like your main chick, and then and the side chick, like having a thing together.
Yeah, like one thing I've done whenever I've had threesomes was like I made it like it's about us, like we're a team. Like I very much get the girl involved in the process of finding this. Like, babe, what do you want to see? Like, whoa, like I make it about us. Oh, I'd be so hot, me and you. Like it's not about me, it's about us. Like we're one unit. I find that frame is like really powerful. Versus if it's just like it's a fantasy for you, then it's so common for the girls to like backtrack last minute. Like, babe, I don't know if I really want to do this. But if you make it about us as a unit, like it's gonna be way more solid. As a quick side note, I should introduce you to Prinzo. He also has a podcast. Good guy. Just remind me. All right. It seems most active American female porn stars are politically leftist SJW. Have you noticed this? If so, what do you attribute that to? Okay, that's an interesting question.
They're very, very lefty, very SJW, and hence why I have, by speaking the truth today, I got in quite a lot of trouble. But fuck it, I'm tired of lying to people. The reason is, well, primarily it's because they're in Los Angeles, and LA is like the den of this kind of stuff. This sort of SJW stuff. California in general, or the West Coast in general, is sort of like the hive of this, where all this SJW culture comes from. So a lot of girls in porn come from California or Seattle. So they're from the West Coast, and then most of it, like 80% of it, is shot in Los Angeles. So it sort of breeds that culture. That's why.
You know who doesn't seem SJW? Who's the blonde chick with humongous tits? It's like Nicolette O'Shea or something like that.
Nicolette Shea. Yeah, she does. I've worked with her once. I couldn't really tell what she was like, to be honest. She's she's just a hustler, man. She's just about the money. You know?
Yeah,
she's making money. She's doing the thing. Bridget B is one who is definitely not SJW. She's more like centrist, like even a bit right leaning. That's Bridget B. She's a good girl. I like her.
I'm not familiar with her. I have another question. What would be the process? Like, say there's a porn star that you have a crush on. What would be the process for you at this point to like be able to work with her? Like, what would you request it with a director? Would you hit her up directly? Like, how would that work?
So we do content trades in our industry. So it's basically like two porn stars, because we have things like OnlyFans and ManyVids and all these platforms to make our own content and then sell them to fans directly, right? So rather than being being paid to be on a big website like Brazzers or something. So the way it works is through Twitter, you generally just send someone else a DM like, hey, we haven't worked together. We'd love to shoot content with you sometime if you're interested. That's it. And if they're interested, then it's like, yeah, sure, let's shoot content. You set up a date and you bang and put a camera in the room. It's really, really that simple.
Would a lot of that have to do with your clout? Like, for example, a guy like Ron Jeremy, who's like clearly unattractive, probably brings a lot of clout to the table.
It's got a lot, like there's definitely like a hierarchy with male talent in the industry. So like top tier girls tend to only want to work with top tier dudes, right? And actually all the girls want to work with the top tier dudes, right? So it's very, very, very easy for them to be like, hey, you want to shoot together? Yes, let's shoot. Like super simple. If you're a newer guy, it's like there are girls that will shoot you with you, absolutely. But it's like you might not get the attention of like the sort of the big name stars. You know what I mean?
What's the situation with James Dean right now? Like, is he able to still get work after the allegations, or
he never stopped working?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that all happened, and there was a few companies that definitely stopped working with him, but there was like people that just kept shooting him. And I actually had lunch with him and asked him that question, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been shooting ever since. People don't think I have been, but I've been shooting ever since. Like he never took a day off. People thought they canceled him, but they didn't. So."
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I never understood that. Like, I just don't understand why he would want to. I'm not saying that the allegations are false. I just don't know anything about the matter. But I just don't see why he would want to rape a girl that he's about to do a rape scene with in like half an hour. Like, that to me just doesn't really make sense. Like, you're gonna fuck her anyway. Like,
one of my exes used to live with the girl who made the allegation against him, and this is just Chinese whispers. Like She told me that she's batshit crazy. That was what I heard. That's third person, twice removed rumor.
Yeah. I just never understood like why he would want to rape a girl that he's literally gonna fuck in like 30 minutes. Like that just doesn't make sense. Again, I don't know. Maybe it's true. I wasn't there, but just from a logical perspective, it doesn't make sense. It does kind of suck though how like with this stuff, it's guilty until proven innocent. It's not innocent until proven guilty. It's like all it takes is someone to make an allegation and then bam, like it's just assumed that you did it. But like in reality, you could be extremely innocent, but so what?
It's trial by mob justice.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's not like that with anything else. Like you can imagine that with like, let's say like, drugs, like, oh, he sells drugs. Okay, put him in jail. He's a drug dealer. Like that person could be totally innocent. He's like a law-abiding citizen.
Yep.
Crazy. All right, let's take one last question. Hey, Stirling, what exactly would you do to prevent premature jack? I've tried taking deep breaths, edging, but the tension is constantly there. It's hard to just continue without busting.
Yeah, because usually the first thing I tell guys is to focus more on their breathing. It also depends like how you breathe when you ejaculate. So some guys will hold their breath when they're ejaculating. Some guys will like breathe really quickly when they're ejaculating. So if you're like paying attention to the way you're breathing during sex, like when you're getting close, if you notice that you're sort of like tightening up and like holding your breath, then maybe it's time to like, oh wait, I need to break this pattern. But for you, it might be the opposite way around for you, right? So be aware of what the pattern is with the breathing for a start. That's the first thing I'd say.
Yeah, for me, a big game changer with this was actually kratom. Like I used to have this problem a lot when I was younger, and kratom significantly like lowers it's not that it lowers your sensitivity, but you're just not going to bust nearly as fast. So that's been a huge game changer for me. Do be careful because it is a little addictive, but yeah, that and also alternating between sex and eating her out. So like if I get close, I just pull out, eat her out. So for her, the experience doesn't slow down, but you get to like kind of go back to baseline. So those two things have been like giant game changers for me.
Take your time with it. We might have to wrap up here, man. It's like 3:30 in the morning.
No, yeah. I was gonna make that the last question. All right, bro. Yeah, thank you for coming on. So we're gonna post the links to the to this in the description below. So again, if you guys get the Stirling's new product, and when is it coming out? January 3rd?
January 3rd is the release date. So you get full access, you get lifetime access to it on January the 3rd.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so you guys will get either 25% off the purchase of the product or a free month in the mastermind, whatever you prefer. All right, bro. Yeah, always a good chat.
Likewise. Thank you for having me on again, man.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Looking forward to coming on your channel.
Yes, January 4th.
Schooling you guys on some text game.
Love it.
All right, bro. Have a good one. Thank you guys for watching. We have a video coming out tomorrow on how to on one of the most important text game techniques, takeaways. So I'm going to break down. People have been requesting this video for a while, so I'm going to break down how to do takeaways. So stay tuned. That's coming out 4 p.m. tomorrow. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Have a good one.